Hey everybody, it's Sam from Samantha Martin and Delta Sugar, and you're listening to KUCU 916 radio station down in Sacramento. Come on, live365.com.
Right. Hey, welcome back to KUCU 916 on live365.com. And hey, we got a special treat for you. We have the album release of one heck of a, not only just blues singer, soul singer. Man, your music shook me to the bone. We have Samantha Martin and Delta Sugar. Hey, welcome to the show.
So good to be here, Kevin. Thank you for having me.
Yes, ma'am. You know, we've heard some of your music. I was listening to your album last week, and you know, it's in the States. We have a bunch of, I'll say, a couple blues players, like, you know, obviously the soul part of it, you know, with Bonnie Raitt and the comparison to that. I'm sure you've heard a lot of those because even with Ella Langley a little bit, you got that, you know, that little style kick. And I was listening to the soulfulness of this album, and you know, I was blown away. I really want to know what it took to not only have the album, but to make it like how did you choose certain songs?
Well, the live album itself is from a tour that we did in November 2022. I was 6 months pregnant at the time. We had this 90-minute set that we were doing from all the way from Winnipeg, which is like sort of Minnesota area, all the way out to the West Coast, you know, California, Oregon kind of way. And we ended the tour in a town called Maple Ridge, which is like a suburb of Vancouver. And they have this beautiful theater there called the ACT Theater. And we happened to record that particular show that night, and it must have been the fact that it was the end of the tour. We were tight, we were excited, we were given everything that we had left in the tank. Absolutely. That night, and it just turned out to be one hell of a show. And like a lot of things that we do, we sort of record things for posterity's sake, just to have them. Sure. And in case one day we want to do something with them. And I had this sub saxophone player coming into the band for one show, and there was a song that we had done on that tour that I wanted to do at this show, but we had changed the arrangement a little bit. And I wanted an audio version of it so that he could learn the song and then come to rehearsal and all this kind of stuff. And that song was Love and Cup. And I went into the vault of recorded songs that we had done on the tour. And I found that version. I was like, this is the version I want him to learn. Started thinking, I was like, that was a really, like, that cover, that version of that song really sounded great. I wonder what the rest of the show sounded like. And I listened back to the whole show, and I was like, holy shit, we've got a live record, folks.
Wow, isn't that amazing? So
it's actually the whole set from that night in the order that it was in, with the exception of we cut the first song, and we cut Meet Me in the Morning, and All That I Am was another song. So because we wanted to we couldn't do a triple album, like a triple vinyl.
Yeah.
So we had to cut it back. And so we had cut all the talking, and we still were too long. So we had to cut a couple songs. So, but yeah, that's the live show.
Well, it turned out great, especially like the first one, Love Is All Around. And it's like, how did you make that your show starter? Because as you know, if people put it in or listen to it, that's the first one they're going to hear.
That night, actually, the first song of the night was Hello Sunshine by Aretha Franklin. So, like, dun, 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 a little bit, yeah. Like warm them up a little bit. Like, here's the sound, here's the band. Give them a reference point of something they may know, or something that's like a little bit more familiar, and then break into the news, into the songs they may or may not have heard. Because I find, a lot of people, especially in a theater, situation where it's like a soft seat theater, a performing arts center. A lot of people are like season ticket holders and they come regardless of who's on stage just because they've got these season tickets. So you kind of got to warm them up, you know?
Yeah, you got to know something they've heard before and kind of get them recognized, because you guys have such a wide variety of members. You know, like you said, you have a lot of different interchange of people like coming in. I see like saxophone players come in. Do you have any other special players every now and then join you on certain stages of your tours?
Yeah, so most of the time we play as a 7-piece band, so no horn section. I do have my first call horns that play with us, and they're on this record. My first call horns are always, you know, my go-to. I have my first call players.
Yeah.
But with a band this size, the show goes on, and I just keep bringing people in as necessary, you know?
Yeah.
Like if somebody's not available, I just find somebody else to plug into the spot. It, you know, like on a tour, it's usually you've got enough notice and enough lead time that, you know, you get your first call. But not always.
With today's technology, like you said, you can have your whole album and send it to somebody and say, "Hey, learn this in a week."
Yeah,
you know, it's so much easier than it used to be, where you had to be on, you know, together to get that kind of vibe. Now you can play it anywhere. You know, we
still, even with subs, we still rehearse them.
Oh, that's now. Did COVID change any of that for you guys? Like, did you guys all, as other bands did, sit in remotely everywhere and everybody like record their cameras and play? Did you guys do any of that?
We did two. I want to say 2, maybe 3 live streams during that time period. One was a trio, and it wasn't even my regular players.
Right. Wow.
Because they just lived closer, and it was a little bit easier. And we did it as a trio because we needed to distance and all that stuff. Right. I think we did like a pre-recorded show, and then we did a live stream for our album release, because we released the album in November of 2020, thinking that the pandemic was going to be over any day now.
Yeah, in a week, you know, everybody else was.
And that was sort of because this tour that this album was recorded at was the last of the postponed tours. It had originally been slated for like January, February of 2022, and there was like a bunch of lockdowns kind of
still going in place.
In place, and a couple of the venues had gotten cold feet. And they were just like, we don't want to get up to like the day of the show and have to cancel.
Right.
Because there's too many of you, it's going to get complicated. And so my agent at the time just shifted everything. But because of that, it was just an interesting time. You know, I've talked to a lot of bands. That was the time they wrote a lot of music, because you either went with your content creation or you just stayed indoors. There wasn't much to do, and you know, some people did. Some people took it as a break from music, even. I did.
You know, so when I think that regenerates you when you pick a guitar back up after the fact that you've not done it in a while, you get that energy back to, you know, let's go.
And you know, I wasn't one of the musicians who spent the time writing. I really wasn't. And I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh yeah, I was writing too. No, I wasn't.
Yeah.
I was, first of all, 2018, 2019, and the beginning of 2020, I was going to beat hell. I was so busy. I was never home. I didn't even have an apartment. For a good chunk of the time. I was just on the road so much. And I was really starting to burn out. And so the first couple months of the pandemic, I was like, this is fantastic. I'm like, I haven't sat this still for so long.
Yeah.
And then towards like getting into the album, and I was like doing the social media thing. I was doing a couple like the live streams and that sort of stuff. And then because we were releasing the record, I was really, really just focused on the social media because that's all I could do.
Yeah. It seemed like that was a great avenue to especially that's how I got created. Our station got created because of the avenue was needed, but our local stuff, people needed a place to go in our community. Things were getting shut down too. It's, funding and everywhere is not there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're doing.
And that was sort of the thing. And like, I'm not the kind of person who can write about things that I'm going through in the moment. I'm the kind of person who writes about things once the chapter's been closed.
Gotcha.
So a lot of musicians were writing pandemic kind of songs, that sort of thing. I couldn't do it. I was like, it's just going to be cheese, fromage.
Yeah.
So
I see a lot of single albums too, and I'm sure your bandmates, everybody, like I said, once you guys got back together. I know this album, it seemed like there's a lot of soulful songs in this album. It seemed like really, really good. And
this live album is an amalgamation of all 3 Delta Sugar records. Wow, so there's songs from each of the records. That's really good. But it's really the Reckless one heavy.
Yeah.
And the Reckless one that we released in 2020, the reason why we were doing so much of it was the first Canadian tour we had been able to do with that record 2 years later. After releasing it, this is the first time that we're doing these songs for these folks, so we really did focus on mostly doing songs off that record. And the Reckless one is sort of my album that I regret when we released it. I wish we had held on to it.
A little more time to get
until that we could get back out and tour it properly. Because I feel like we sort of wasted it in a way because we weren't able to properly tour it.
Yeah.
And but
it's a great album. It's a great album to see. And let me ask you this too. I know you're on Gypsy Soul Records. What made you go to that label, and give me a little message on that label and what they mean to you guys? And it seems like it's all the artists on that label seem like they all get along. They all have they're great, Canadian kind of feel to it. Explain how you guys got in with that and how you're working with that group.
So back in October of 2017, I was looking for a label for the Run to Me record, which was coming out in 2018. My manager, Rob Bowman, and I sort of were, pitching to record labels. I'd had a meeting with Universal, and they were interested in the record, but they wanted to sub-license it. And I was looking through the paperwork on it, and I was kind of thinking oh man, I'm going to get shelved. I'm a little fish in a big pond. They already want to sub-license me. You know what I mean? Who knows what label they're going to
absolutely where you're going to go to and where you're going to come to. Yeah.
And so I was talking with this guy, Rick Fenton. He's sort of Canadian music business
sure
loyalty, or at least he's super well known. He's infamous.
Yeah.
And I was talking with Rick, and I was in the studio, and I said, hey, listen, do you know anybody? Listen to the record. Do you know anybody who would be interested in that you think would be a good fit for the music? And he goes, actually, I'm working with a guy named Renan, and he has this record, Gypsy Soul Records, record label, and I'm going to play it for him, and I'm going to get you a meeting with him. And I was like, okay, this is amazing. Great. Thank you. So we've had this meeting with Universal, and then I sit down with Renan and Rick and Rob, the 3 R's. Wow. Renan, Rick, and Rob and I got together at Sneaky D's, which is a total dive bar here in Toronto, for nachos and a couple beer, and sort of talked about where Gypsy Soul saw Samantha Martin and Delta Sugar and that sort of thing. And at the time, Renan didn't really have too many artists on the label that were super active. He had a few, but they were not super, super active. And I had already had all this touring experience, and I'd already released records, and I was doing things. And so I became the big fish.
Yeah.
In that pond very quickly. And Renan and I we clicked from a business perspective. He was really supportive. We spent a lot of time together releasing the Run to Me record, and I fell in love with him. And now he's also my partner and the father of my child.
Well, that's great. So, and you get that first connection, and you had to make it feel good, because you went from maybe being put to where, maybe being set to the side, to someone that really wants to put you out there and putting them out there at the time. I'm sure that bond was, now the bond, look at it now, but I'm sure early on that bond was cultivating both of you. I think a push and pull on both sides.
And I think so. And from that point, I started like almost A&Ring a little bit for him. I was like, I just heard this band. You got to hear them. And it was Bywater Call.
Wow.
And then
I was listening to some of them too.
And then I was like, oh my God, I just heard this young girl. You have to hear her. And it's Izzy Abouage, she's amazing. She's going to be a great addition. But it was this symbiotic sort of signing. And the thing that I've always said in my career is that I want to work with true believers.
Absolutely.
In what I do.
And it's genuine. It's genuine because, it's organic.
In the major label sort of sphere, there's no true believers. You're a number on a budget sheet.
Right.
So, and if
you're either making it or you're not. Yep,
yeah, if you're not selling. And the thing is what I do is so niche. I was like, what is Universal going to do with me? I'm not pop. I'm not hip hop. I'm not, the country music, like commercial country music. So I was just like, what are they going to do with me? They're going to shelve me for sure.
Well, and
I'm
like
going to owe them a pile of money.
Absolutely. Then you have to be forced to keep doing certain albums. And then it's not an album that you want to do. It's an album that you have to do.
Yeah, obviously.
Where this way, like this way, I think it makes it where obviously it's all in the family now, so it benefits both of you, I guess. Now that's probably a good benefit, but it's now you've got a trustable partner. Now you got a trustable partner too.
It's hard to mix business with pleasure.
Oh, absolutely.
People think it's easy. It's really not.
Oh no, I can imagine. There's times where you have to. You have to make decisions and not decisions. But on the outside looking in, you guys are putting on one heck of a show. I see the and you hear the music, right? Like you hear the soulful in it, and you hear one thing that really came across me, and I love that you included it, was you included announcing your band members. And to me, I listened to that and it was like, that's where it's not just a band, it's family. And that's kind of what we have here. Exactly.
And that band that was on that album is some of the best musicians and best people I've had an opportunity to work with over the years. And, it's a family. It's a dysfunctional family sometimes, but it's a family.
But you're there. You're there to play, and you can hear it too.
Yeah, and everybody's just there to do the job.
Yeah.
And they understand the vision.
Sure.
I'm very fortunate, and I always introduce my band, and I always give them their flowers, so to speak.
Absolutely. We do that here. You got to give them a little bit of shine. Just because when you give them that shine, it's got to come back to you, right?
Yeah.
Well, I love the way that is, and I'm sure on their end, you were one heck of a talent. Your talent really shines through, because you could be a player and be playing, but when you feel the other person that's doing the soulful work, boy, I'm sure it's a lot more fun to play. I mean,
and I'll tell you what, that show would be boring as hell with just me and a guitar. So
the horn, the sax player, man, just incredible.
Yeah, Andrew, he's fantastic.
Yeah. I think the more we put you out there and our music out there, especially on this side of the States, it's well received.
Love it.
It's well received. That we really, really, really like your music, and we really appreciate you giving the time and sitting on with us. And now you tell me, what influences when you were started playing music, who were your influences, and what do you get back to them now? What do you get back to them?
My influences growing up were varied. I had a lot of different influences in my life, but there was a few sort of early on that really kind of still stick with me. One was my grandparents' record collection. They listened to a lot of like Fats Domino, the Flamingos, the Platters. So there was a lot of that doo-wop kind of side of things. And they also used to snowbird in Pensacola, Florida. And they would go to the black church in Pensacola, and they'd come back with all this black gospel music. And the Staple Singers was a big record. My grandfather was also a big fan of the Reader's Digest record collections. So there is a lot of music there.
Man, yeah.
Where you get the 4-disc set of like doo-wop, like that sort of thing. And then my dad was a big country guy. So we listened to a lot of Hank Williams, Willie Nelson, Merle Haggard, like outlaw kind of country. He was a truck driver, right?
So that's
so
the old Olympia beer back then.
That's right. That's right.
Yep.
And so from a songwriting perspective, that influences me a lot. Like I get a lot of my, like the storytelling from country music,
right?
Where there's a beginning, a middle, and end kind of to the verses, that sort of thing. And then from a vibe perspective, totally my mom's record collection. She was Janis Joplin, the Stones, Joe Cocker, Tina Turner. Really loved like that rock and roll, like Bad Company.
Now, did I read somewhere you were also compared to Joe Cocker a little bit there? I think I heard some of that or read some of that. Part of that, and I'd say that as part of the old storytelling writing. Right. Where you really got into the soul for writing, and then when you sing it, you could tell what a person was going through that time when they sing it. And he had that, and you have that in a lot of your songs too. So it's I thought I read that in there one of the comments.
Yeah, I mean, it's been, the album itself has been compared to the Mad Dogs and Englishmen kind of like soul review style show, and that's definitely an influence for sure. Because it's the kind of show I want to go see. Right. So Absolutely. It's like what moves me and what I would want to see is what I try to emulate on stage.
Absolutely. That's a great thing. That's a great thing. All about giving that experience to the fan.
And like Otis Redding and all those sort of 60s, 70s soul rock kind of shows. That's what moves me. That's the kind of music I like to listen to. And those are the kind of shows I want to see, that high energy kind of thing. And the closest that I've, been able to see that kind of stuff is Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings, Charles Bradley.
Yeah.
And, that music has being able to go and see those shows today, but this decade.
Yeah.
Going to go and see those shows, I was like, oh yeah, this is it. This is peak soul entertainment. And do my best to sort of do the same.
Yeah, it's really interesting just because like a lot of soulful singers, they always look to someone that they try to mirror or mimic or, try to get that emotion up. But it's like yours comes naturally. Is it especially playing the guitar? Do you like to play or do you like to?
I do like to play, but am I the best player on guitar? No, but I do like to play, and I do write.
You look like you enjoy it though.
I do enjoy it, and I'm a rhythm guitar player. I don't play lead. I play acoustic guitar. If you put an electric guitar in my hand, it's messy. I do. It was the first instrument that I learned how to play, and my dad taught me my first chords, and I taught myself everything else I know. And I just bang away at it, and hope I don't get in my own way.
Absolutely. Well, looks like our time's about up. They're about to cut us off. So anyway, so I will definitely we'll get with more, and maybe we'll get with you after when you go on your next tour. Let's set up another one.
Let's do it.
I'd love to do it when you're on your tour and you're playing some more.
All right, love it. Love that.
All right,
Kevin.
again,
thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Again, this was live on KUCU 916 on Live 365. That was Samantha Martin and Delta Sugar. Thank you so much, Samantha.
You're so welcome, Kevin.
Have a great day.
You too.
All righty, bye-bye.
Bye.